Well, just as we have one crazy week in the stock market, we are starting to enter this week another big week for the stock market, and I'm sure we will see some stock market moves being made this week. But just going on to last week and just a quick chat of last week before we do go on to the coming up week this week. Believe it or not, the actual stock market was up last week. For me personally, my portfolio was up last week. If we look at the Nasdaq across 5 days, up 2%. If we look at the S&P 500, up 1.5%. So a little bit strange here because with everything that happened last week, you kind of get that feeling that we probably didn't really get anywhere, but we actually started to put in some right moves with the Nasdaq, with S&P 500, even a lot of the small market cap stocks and a lot of the growth stocks actually put in a positive week. You just probably didn't notice because it was so up and down, and until about Tuesday, Wednesday, we were actually on for a very strong week. It was just that the Thursday was so bad with the likes of PayPal and Facebook that you kind of forgot how good it was. But with the bounce up that we had on Friday, a lot of it due to Amazon, we actually had a pretty decent week in the stock market. So it'll be interesting to see, once again, if we go into this week, are we going to have a stock market that carries on putting in a bit of a recovery, or do we start moving in the downward trend? But we kind of, we have sort of broke this trend that we've been on probably for the last kind of couple of months. Let's say from the December period, this downtrend that we've had since then, where it just got so much pain. We had a little bit of a bounce up here, as you can see, and here we are kind of bouncing off these lows a little bit here. So we'll be interested to see where a lot of these big tech, a lot of the indexes go. Like I said previously, for me, I do look at these and think that there could be still a period of time where a lot of these go sideways for a bit, maybe even downtrend. But I do look at generally a lot of the small market caps and think they are so sold off that we will see a bottom soon, and there's so much negativity out there that we will see them soon bottom out. The only thing that I ever see really affecting them is if we hit a recession. The only thing that could change that is that if we do hit a recession. But I generally do think small market caps and growth stocks will probably have a very good rebound this year, and I think it won't be too long till we see that happen. Now obviously that is all short term, and I am not a short term investor, so take that all with a pinch of salt, but that's my kind of feeling at where we're at right now. And like I said, Google was the stock, as you can see on Tuesday, that did really lift the stock market up at the start of the week. Very good earnings from them. But what sent it down on the Thursday was PayPal. The PayPal had a massive drop off, and down at 35 times earnings is now. And Facebook as well, that obviously helped it, and that had a massive sell off. And the thing is that we haven't seen this for a while. We haven't seen really a lot of these big market cap stocks come into earnings season and drop this much. This is the big shock really, is that we're seeing these big tech stocks move 23%. It's been so long since we've even seen a big tech kind of like move down 10% negatively, that to see two in 1 week was just such a surprise. You had PayPal down that much, Facebook down 28%, crazy. And this is probably the one that I am so surprised with, as I talked about it a bit on Friday, that I saw move this much. Amazon moving up 13%. I generally looked at Amazon's earnings and I thought Amazon's earnings were worse than Facebook's, worse than PayPal's, and this was up 13%. So this is kind of like, this is why you can't bet on the stock market in the short term, because I would have gone into Amazon's earnings thinking they're probably going to be bad earnings, and then there were bad earnings, and then the stock goes up. That's the stock market in the short term for you, and anything can happen. And something like a PayPal, I thought, PayPal's earnings I thought they weren't great, probably deserved a little bit of a drop. And then you look at something like PayPal and they dropped 23% on their earnings. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy out there. And I think this one kind of summed up how crazy last week were. Pinterest reported earnings were good, beating down stock. It jumps up 30% in pre-market. When it comes to the open, it only opens up 2% up, and then by the time it closes, it closes up 11%. That is some move going on there. So I think a lot of investors at the moment and Wall Street and are just trying to decide whether or not, okay, we're bullish on the stock market, we're still so negative on the stock market, do we start buying some of these stocks? It is volatile out there, and these are big things. These are companies that we're talking like 17 billion companies. Sure, not too big compared to the next ones, but still a decent size. Amazon, that's a 1.6 trillion company that's moving this much. PayPal, that's 148 billion. And then just to top it off, Peloton on Friday, then that one pops up 26% on some news of some buyout rumours. I mean, I think that potentially what we could see is with how cheap some of these stocks are, that some of them do start getting bought out, and I won't be too surprised to see something like a Peloton at the moment get bought out. So there could be some truth there, we'll see. We're going on to earnings season this week. We have moved now from a lot of the big market caps. We are moving into a bit more of the small market cap territory, a lot of the growth stock territory, where most of my investments are at the moment, because what I've had over the last kind of 12 months is a lot of the growth stocks being sold off, and that's where my capital has started to go. Now, in the next few months, if we do start to see these recover, which I don't know if we will, but if they do, then you probably actually see me rotate into the big tech, because some of the big tech are starting to get interesting now for sure. So we'll see what happens here. I generally don't know what to expect going into this week. I'm just expecting it could be volatile. When we're seeing the likes of the moves in PayPal, Facebook, Amazon, and these are $1 trillion companies, and even Pinterest at $17 billion companies, I have no idea how the stock market's going to react to some of these earnings. The likes of a Corsair that we have on Tuesday, I mean, that's only something like a $2 billion company, I'm going to guess off the top of my head. I mean, if they report earnings, I have no idea how the stock market's going to take them. Are they going to go, it's a good earnings, so the stock is going to go up, or it's good earnings but we're still so negative that it goes down, or if it's bad earnings, what happens there? I generally don't know. I mean, it'd be so crazy if after all this you have all these like small caps report earnings and they only move 1 or 2%. That would be the most crazy thing. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy week, and I generally just have no idea what to expect here. But we are getting onto the small caps now, and judging with how the big tech's been going, it could be a bit of a crazy one, especially I think it's the week after this one is a big week as well for me personally, with a lot of stocks reporting earnings. But this week, I mean, obviously you got Chegg, Take-Two, not really stocks that I follow. Tuesday, Pfizer, BP, that's been on a bit of a good run at the moment with a lot of the energy stuff that's been going on. After the close, Peloton, obviously they've had a lot of pressure at the moment, so we'll see what happens there. We'll see if there's any truth on the questionable buyout, if that's going to happen. Digital Turbine, Enphase, AAA, Corsair, that's obviously one that I own. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, these guys have been absolutely killed with a lot of logistic issues at the moment, so we'll see if the problems... It'd be good to get an update on Corsair of like, okay, these problems are still getting worse. They're starting to flatline a little bit. Okay, we're starting to see some recovery. We'll see what happens there. I would expect Corsair to at least probably moved 5% up or down on earnings. Pay.com, I think I looked into that a while ago. It's actually quite an interesting company. CVS Health, Canopy Grove, Yum. Not really too many that I'm interested there. Walt Disney, this will be interesting because obviously you'll have hopefully a bit better park numbers. We'll see. It depends how much, because obviously this will be probably to the peak where the new variant was coming in and people getting scared off with that new variant, and if that did affect the park numbers, we'll see what happens. I mean, it depends on what Disney Plus, what numbers they bring out with Walt Disney, I guess. So yeah, obviously I own that one I'll keep an eye on. Uber, Twilio, Zynga, I like this space, so I probably will check out how they're doing. Sonos, MGM Resorts, I'll be checking them guys out. iRobot is definitely starting to get to interesting prices. One that if everything wasn't so cheap at the moment, I would probably consider picking some shares up. Thursday, I'd probably say Thursday is the biggest day this week, I would guess. You got Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Datadog. Last time these guys dropped a huge amount on earnings, so it would be worth checking them guys out. AstraZeneca, Tapestry. After the close, Affirm. These guys have fallen off a massive amount at the moment. Twitter, Cloudflare, Zillow. I think this is the first quarter Zillow will be reporting after their leaving the iBuying market, so we'll see what happens there. Aurora, Expedia, Upwork, that'll be interesting because I'm quite interested in Fiverr, so it'd be good to get their numbers. Hubspot is a good company. If it was a better valuation, it could be one that I own. Callaway Golf, obviously that's one I own, so it'd be interesting to see how they're doing. Obviously to get some more top golf numbers out of them. Them guys have dropped recently as well, which is really strange. I have thought about picking some more shares up in Callaway Golf recently because everything with the company is doing absolutely amazing, and it's weird that it's being caught up in this kind of small cap growth sell-off, really. Just a steady company, and it hadn't really been involved in it previously. It's kind of done its own thing, so yeah, be good to get some numbers out there. I think it's worth saying as well that InMode are reporting earnings, but it hasn't made this list for some reason. That should be on Thursday. normally in mode, they bring the preliminary earnings out and then it goes up, and then when it actually comes to the proper earnings, they normally go down when they bring out the actual earnings out. So we'll see if that trend continues with in mode. The only little difference is that it is currently on a little bit of a sell-off, which it hasn't previously had, I guess, really. So yeah, those are just a few things to look out for, I guess. And yeah, I think it's going to be a crazy week, judging by the week that's just gone and how much a lot of these big market caps were moving. Now we're into a new week and we start to move to a lot of the companies that I would say, maybe not all of them, because, you know, Walt Disney, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo are still very decent sizes, but we're starting to enter a period of time now where we have a lot of the small market caps that are, you know, under 10 billion that we're going to be reporting, and it'd be interesting to see what numbers they bring out and how Wall Street reacts to their earnings and if they move in such a way as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be interesting, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you could hit the like button, if you're new, subscribe, that'd be absolutely amazing, and I'll see you on the next video.